Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a brand new episode of Chat. My name is Bryan Kearney, and absolutely delighted today to be joined by Scottish DJ, producer, record label owner Mark Sherry. Mark, how are you, man?
Brian, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How's yourself?
I'm okay. I don't think anyone can really be any better than okay at the moment with everything, but just sort of, it's been a recurring thing on this podcast. It's just sort of one day at a time at this stage, so...
Yeah, it's been pretty tough, to be honest. You know, I think the longer it goes on, the tougher it gets. But you just got to try and keep a strong head. And as you've said before with the guys you've spoken to, it's not going to be forever. We will get through this. But yeah, it's not been easy for any of us.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to the last time I saw you. I don't know if were you at ASOT last year? You playing?
It wasn't at ASOT. No, I think it was Dream State. Was it not Dream State?
Yeah, you were playing with Frank, Gentech. I was on after you.
Yeah.
That's the last time I would have seen you. But obviously, I know you a long time. We've been sort of colleagues, and we've known each other for maybe 10, 12 years, maybe at this stage. So, I remember when I did start this podcast, you got in touch with me and you said you listened to it and you enjoyed it, and I appreciated that. And I thought you'd be an ideal person to come on because you're someone that I got on well with. You're someone who we've had sort of deep discussions on other things in the past when I was thinking back from stuff from years ago.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you, do you remember we played the festival Eurofest in Mexico in the water park?
I know, mate. You know, can you imagine doing that now? It's hard to believe we're running around in our shorts, diving into swimming pools and, you know, hugging everybody in Mexico and just having a amazing time. And I actually thought of that recently after I'd spoken to you and I'd seen the chat shows you've been doing. It's just simple things you take for granted that you would do anything to have happen now. You know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I was laughing at because for anyone listening in or watching, we played at a festival in 2012 called Eurofest, and it was taking place in like a water park about maybe an hour outside Mexico City. Would that be right?
Yeah, it wasn't.
So the way it was, we were there at the water park basically all day. So while we were waiting around to play, we were in and out of water and just walking around, and it's a bit of a blur, to be honest, most of the day. But it's just I actually completely forgot about that gig, and then just when I think back on it, geez, I'd love something like that right now. But
I know, mate. I think we're drunk by the time the plane had taken off. I remember going on straight on the plane and the beers were flowing. It was me, you, and
Alex Indecent Noise. Yeah, we flew over from Amsterdam. Yeah, I remember it well. So
yeah. Sorry, mate.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I ended up with a really bad stomach bug after that gig, and I know for a fact it was the swimming pool because it didn't look the cleanest pool that I've ever been in.
Jesus, the thoughts of what we were swimming around that day. Fucking hell. No, but stuff. What I remembered was I'm not going to say what we were talking about as we were about to take off on the way home, but we had sort of an in-depth discussion about stuff that was the two of us had gone through the same sort of thing. I'll say it to you off camera. It's not something I want to talk about. It's a private chat, but that's why that's why I'm talking about bringing you on the podcast today and talk to you about how you've handled the last year, how it's been for you, how's your mental state, how's your motivation, all that sort of stuff. So we can get into it. The first question I always ask people that come on the show is how have you handled the last 12 months? What was your initial reaction and how are you doing right now?
It's been one of these things, none of us could have prepared for this, and it's crazy to think back that it's been 12 months. It feels like it happened like 3 years ago, but crazily, me and David Forbes went over to Taiwan 2 weeks before lockdown, and if we'd, you know, looking back, it was probably one of the craziest things we've ever done. But we were looking at all the stats. I was talking to Bram, my manager at the time. You know, Forbesy was managed by Bram as well, and he was talking to the guys in Taiwan and should we do this gig? Shouldn't we do the gig? And it'd been going on for like, I think the booking came in like 6 months before lockdown, and there was no chat about the virus obviously up until about, I think it was December. There was like talk about this thing happening in China, and it was starting to escalate, and we were talking to the promoters every day, we were talking to Bram every day, should we do it, shouldn't we? But we kind of made the decision that we were just going to go for it. We'd be really careful, we'd take masks with us, and we did. We flew to Dubai from Glasgow. We didn't wear masks on that flight, but as soon as we got to Dubai, we had masks on. did the gig, went to the club, had masks on, took them off while we were playing, masks were back on, went to the hotel, quick sleep and back home again with the masks on. And then by the time we got back, it was just like, holy shit, man, this is really starting to grow legs. You know, this is a nasty pandemic that's happening here. So looking back, we shouldn't have gone, but we took the risk. And from then on, when March kicked in, we obviously went straight into lockdown. And you know what? It didn't feel too bad in the beginning, but one thing that scared the absolute shit out of me was seeing what was happening in Italy. Do you remember Italy got hit really bad?
Yeah.
Now I don't watch the news faithfully, but it was all over the news at the time. And there was I remember it as if it was yesterday. There was just a camera walking through this hospital ward and through the corridors in Italy, and there was people completely KO'd, you know, wired up to the machines, lying out in beds in the corridors. It was like something out of a horror film or one of these disaster movies, and that just made me realise how bad, from what I could see, this is potentially what could happen in Britain and Ireland. And from then on it just got worse and worse. But I think one thing that helped us all, speaking for myself, was the weather. The weather was amazing.
It was unbelievable.
It was. We're from Scotland and Ireland. They're not exactly known for having tropical weather systems. So the weather really helped me. I was out in the garden all the time. I was laughing at Jock. You know, Jock's been like posting photographs of his vegetable patch and the things he's been growing. And at first I was a bit kind of embarrassed because I was out in the garden. I've never gardened in my life, mate, but I was out cutting the grass and planting things, and had all sorts of flowers and trees and things getting planted, and that really helped me through the first lockdown, because I was taking all the creative energy that I would have in my studio with making music and preparing for music and preparing for DJ sets. All of that creativity was just snapped. It was gone like that because of the lockdown. And I just put all my energy into the garden. And it's not exactly the coolest thing to be talking about. You know, gardening's something that you do when you're an old age pensioner, but that...
Very good for your head.
That completely, mate, that completely saved me in the first lockdown with the combination of the weather, combination of having Karen around. Karen was obviously working from home, my wife, and so it didn't actually feel that bad. Trying to avoid the news, trying to think about how things could go in the wrong direction, just trying to forget about that and get outside, going for long walks. Karen's mum and dad live around the corner from us in the village, and they've got a little dog. I know you've now got a dog as well.
Yeah.
That little dog, if she knew how much she saved us over the last 12 months, it's incredible.
Dogs are incredible, man.
I think she's the fittest dog in the whole of Scotland, mate. She's got bigger calf muscles than me just now. The amount of walking she's been getting,
Same for my dog. I think I did 137,000 steps or something last week. The dog. It's just he's brilliant. I love him. Yeah. Absolutely love him. He's been such an addition to the house and to the family.
Yeah.
And just picking up on a couple of things you said there. You mentioned about the weather in Scotland and Ireland being very similar, and I'm just thinking that this podcast is an Irishman and a Scotsman having a conversation, so good luck to half the world trying to understand what we're saying. I
know we should try and slow things down a bit.
I think I need to invent subtitles for podcasts. If I come up with something like that, I could make a million out of that. But
absolutely. Yeah, so I mean,
sorry, go ahead. Sorry,
mate. First lockdown, it wasn't actually too bad. In saying that, we lost a family member, sadly. Karen's uncle passed away with COVID as well. So again, that just put a whole different perspective on it, because there was always that part in the back of your head thinking, is this pandemic really as bad as it's looking on TV or looking in the newspapers? And so to have something like that happen, it just made it all very much more real than it actually was. So yeah, that was a horrible thing to go through, and the family had to deal with having a funeral with only a handful of family members there, and it was tough for Karen and our auntie that lost her husband. So yeah, that was horrendous, to be honest. But we got through it, and I suppose that the second lockdown just didn't feel like a second lockdown, because the government just completely ballsed it up over here. They didn't shut things down the way they did in the first lockdown. People were still kicking around as if there was nothing going on. All the shops were open. People were still travelling. There was thousands of planes landing every day from all sorts of countries, and it was just a free for all. There was not enough restrictions in the second lockdown. So it didn't seem as bad. We got through that one okay. But this third lockdown, mate, I don't know about yourself, but I've just found it really tough. You know, I've always tried to be an upbeat and optimistic person, and I consider myself as being quite thick-skinned, and I can handle anything. But this third lockdown, mate.
Yeah, it's absolutely the same for me. And even the other day, I've I do my best to avoid the news and reading anything to do with COVID or anything, because I'm sick of it, pain in me bollocks listening to all of it at this stage. But I read an interview with Leo Varadkar, who is like he's the second in command in Ireland. He's the Prime Minister's the second to Prime Minister here.
Yeah.
And he said something like, I want this to be a lost year rather than a lost decade. And I'm just like, fuck's sake, another year of this shit. And like, honest to God, man, after reading that, I was thinking to myself, what's the point of this? Like, this isn't life. This isn't living. I can't be arsed dealing with this. And like, it just shows you how quickly this negativity can take over your head. Like, honest to God, like 5 minutes later, I forgot about it and I was fine. But in that moment, I was just like, fuck, I don't want to go through this anymore. I'm sick of this. Like, what is the point of this? And that's how I felt a lot of times over the past year and stuff. I'm angry, man, with what's going on. And I understand that there's terrible things happening, people dying and all that, but the people in charge have made an absolute balls of how they've handled the situation. And like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I've talked about this in the last thing, but I'm skeptical about how this is being handled and what's a lot of other stuff that's going on that I might speak about later on. And I don't want to be coming across as being rude, as you've obviously lost someone to COVID close to you, and I think it's real. I think it's 100% real, and I've full empathy for people who have suffered from it and who've lost people from it. But my anger and my skepticism is coming from how it's being handled. Why if the lockdowns aren't working, right? They're saying the lockdowns work. They don't work. And like, you look at the rates of suicide, mental health issues, domestic abuse. I read a thing the other day about children in Germany. 1 in 3 of them is suffering with a psychological issue. Yeah. As a child, I didn't know what anxiety was until I was about 26. Yeah. So why is there such an obsession with this? Why aren't people being people are going to miss their diagnosis for cancer, a lot of other terminal illnesses, and if you think things are bad now with regards to mental health, the longer this goes on and the longer the people are locked down and they feel like they've no hope, they might think there's a pandemic with a virus. Wait till you see what's going to happen with people's mental health over the next 5 to 10 years, because children, especially with children, like going to school wearing masks, having the windows open because they're not allowed to have the windows closed in the classroom, wearing masks, seeing the fear in their parents' eyes, it's horrible, man. I feel really, really sorry for young people going through all of this. I feel sorry for everyone going through this, but me, myself, I'm sort of proud of myself that I respect the situation, but I'm not afraid of it. I've done my research and I look at other things. I looked at the sort of survival rate and stuff like that, but it's just a constant stream of negative, doom and gloom. And I get those moments where I think to myself, what is the point? What's the point? And if I didn't have my wife, who was my rock and my everything in my life, if I didn't have her, I don't know what I'd do. And people who are stuck at home by themselves, it's a very, very difficult time. So you really need to have an awareness of how you're thinking, what's going on in your life and stuff. And it's just, the longer this goes on, the more damage it's having on people. We need something to look forward to. And sorry for the rant there, but that stuff has been bottled up in me probably for a long time, and just wanted to get it out.
Yeah, I mean, I always try and keep my posts on Facebook and especially my artist page to music and releases and gigs and positive stuff. But, you know, even a few months ago, I posted, I mean, I'll probably go into this later, but I lost one of my best friends to suicide years ago, you know, and from that moment on, I became much more aware about how I was feeling about things, you know, looking out for the warning signs with some of my mates and other people around me and my family. Just my sense of awareness became a lot more heightened towards mental health and how you feel and depression. And what I did in the post was basically saying, I mean, I don't suffer from depression, but some days I'm depressed. I don't suffer from anxiety, but some days I get anxious.
You experience it. Yeah.
The quicker people realise that it's okay, and I know it's been used loads of times, but the hashtag "it's okay to be okay." So what is it again?
It's okay to not be okay.
It's okay to not be okay, and it's so important because as human beings, we all have these feelings, and it's normal to be like that. And some days you have good days, you have bad days, you have good weeks, you have bad weeks, and it's okay to be like that. But you have to be the first to stand up and say, "Hold on a minute, I need help here." Whether it's help from a family member, whether it's talking to your friends, whether it's opening up to somebody that you don't necessarily have to know them that well, you just have to hold your hand up and say, I need help, whether it's medication or whatever. And that it's totally fine to be like that, to accept that and to talk about it. The worst thing you can do is bottle things up. I mean, my friend, he died, and it's easy for me to remember. It was all the sevens. It was the 7th of July 2007. And he just completely shut down. He shut himself off from his friends. He stopped coming out as much. He was a cracking DJ. He was a cracking footballer, all round amazing guy. He'd a brilliant wife, beautiful house, beautiful dog, everything going for him. But back then, you just didn't have the help that you do now. People weren't talking about mental health the way they do now, and I think it's an amazing thing to have podcasts like this and people talking about it online and people standing up and saying, I need some help here, because back then my mate he didn't have that help. And even though we were trying, I mean, to be honest, mate, I think myself and family members and his mates, we could have done more. But the thing was, we didn't know he was struggling as much. He put such a brave face on it. You would never have, well, you might have known some days, but we had no idea to the extent that he was having these feelings about killing himself. And it's really difficult for me to talk about it, but I just feel that I had to say something about this today, because I've not spoken about this to many people, and even Karen, she didn't know him, like she'd never met him before. A lot of my mates that I have now didn't know him, so I don't really have that many people I can talk about him to. My mum and dad knew him really well, and they loved him to bits as well, but if he could only see the devastation that he left behind, he might have reconsidered. But it's easy for me to say that. I didn't know what was going through his head. Obviously, there was that just an imbalance in his head that was just giving him these really dark thoughts. Yeah. So looking back, it's easy to beat yourself up and think, I could have done so much more, but I don't know if I could. But he just completely shut down and locked himself away, and he was drinking too much. And really the only time I heard from him in the end was when he was drinking, and he probably felt as if he could talk a bit more, but it was just it was too far gone. And so yeah, if people out there are listening to this podcast and they're thinking to themselves that is the only way for them to deal with this, you're wrong. You have to speak up. You've got to speak to family members. You've got to speak to your mates, because they're all there for you. And even though you might think that you've not got friends you can speak to, then get on the phone, contact websites, find email addresses, just try and get it out there, because the more you talk about it, the more you realise that there is help, and things can move forward, and you can get out of that train of thought and train of thinking negatively all the time.
Yeah, just coming on to that, when I was a little bit younger and a little bit more naive, I used to think that suicide and people who took their own lives was the most selfish thing that you could ever do. But now that I'm a little bit older, I'm a little bit I don't know if I'm wiser, but I've more experience of life. I understand. I can understand how people struggle to sort of understand what to do when they're experiencing those moments and those sort of thought patterns and stuff. And I spoke about before that your brain is always trying to help you. It's like, as fucked up as this sounds, when you're saying, like, for someone who's going through that, they're just in so much pain and they want the suffering to end, and their brain is giving them the suggestion, because thoughts are just suggestions. They're not facts, they're not orders, they're suggestions. It's up to you, the human, to decide whether to act on them or not. And that's giving you a suggestion of how to get out of the pain. So if you're not aware that it's so easy for someone just to say, right, fuck it, I'm gonna just end this. The pain will end. And when you're in that much, when you're that low, you're not thinking about anyone else and the effect that it will have on everyone else. You're only thinking about your own pain. And I know from my experiences of anxiety and stuff, you become very selfish and you just become obsessed with yourself, and all you think about is your own suffering and your own pain, but you don't understand the sort of the impact that you have on other people's lives. So that thing where you can get stuck in those patterns of suicidal thoughts or negative thoughts, it's you really, really, really need to be aware of that. And you're speaking about how it's okay to not be okay. If you're feeling upbeat and buzzing with life at the moment, fair play to you, because you're probably in the minority there. So especially now more than ever, I think everyone is struggling in one way or another. It's a very difficult time of life, and it's going to be difficult for a lot of people for a good while yet. So the more that this is spoken about, the more it's normalized, the more that there's nothing wrong. Like wrong sorry, I'm going to sound stupid, but wrong is the wrong word to use around all this. Yes, you have things that you need to work on. Yes, there may be unresolved issues going on. There may be stuff from your childhood that needs to be worked on and stuff. But there's nothing wrong with you. Wrong it's a judgmental word. It's a judgment of yourself, and it's a judgment of others. Yes, there's things you can improve. There's ways you can get better. But there's nothing wrong with you, and it's completely normal to feel down and to feel anxious about any kinds of things going on at the moment. So as you were saying, the reason why I'm doing this podcast is I want to speak out, especially to people within our scene, with the scene we're in, because there is a huge amount of mental health issues within our scene, both from artists with creative minds who think a lot, have wild imaginations, and who think mad shit. And for people who think
much.
Yes, absolutely. I hold my two hands up for that one. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Lasers, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. But you need to remember the people. There's drugs involved in our scene, and there's no point like sugarcoating it. People who go to gigs, raves, have taken drugs, and they have a bad effect on your brain. And if you're not aware and careful and look after yourself, it can take you down a very dark road. So you need to be really, really careful around these things. So it's about talking, it's about communicating, it's about realising there's nothing wrong with you. There may need to be some stuff that needs to be improved, but there's nothing wrong with you. And speaking out, talking to people, this is going to make everything so much easier. Drop the stigma, all that sort of stuff, and hopefully it can make things a lot better moving forward.
Yeah, exactly, mate. I mean, something I'd like to talk about as well is... My mum might kill me for talking about this if she sees this video. My dad watches all my videos and interviews and stuff, but my mum struggled really badly with depression for years and years. She had really bad like postnatal depression after she had me, and she was in a really dark place, and she still struggles with depression now. I mean, she's almost 80 years old. But what I'd like to say is if you know somebody that's struggling, it doesn't take much to be nice to that person and offer to do something for them, or send them a card, or send them a nice message, or pick up the phone. You know, my mum, she's really, really struggles, and the lockdowns have just been really hard for her. You know, my dad's a rock to her as well. He really looks after her and stuff, but you know, it doesn't take much to make her happy. You know, if a phone call from me, or last week I sent him round like an afternoon tea, like a little box of sandwiches and a pot of tea and stuff, and you know, the happiness that she got from that just made her day. And I spoke to her at night time, and she just sounded like a different person. You know, so if you know somebody that's dealing with depression or anxiety, it doesn't take much to try and help them and talk to them, pick up the phone, do anything you can, you know. And I know it's sometimes difficult to work out who is dealing with depression and anxiety and stuff, but you know, if you do know somebody, it doesn't take much to try and, I know it's not a long-term assistance, but you know, it doesn't take much to make somebody's day. And I don't mean just people dealing with depression. It can be somebody that is feeling depressed, somebody that's unhappy, somebody that's struggling. You know, it doesn't take much.
Yeah, exactly. And the more the conversation happens, the more this stuff can flow, and you'll feel more connected to other people because they're going through the same thing. We're all struggling. We're all going through especially for yourself and myself, the industry we're in, we've no idea when we're going to work again. I've gone from having a very successful business that given me a very comfortable life to be on the dole. And I don't know when I'll work again. And my government in my country are giving me zero hope of when I'm going to go back to work. So I've lost my job. I don't know when I'm going to ever work again. I'm worried if my career is ever going to happen again. Most of my best mates within the scene are in the same situation. They've got their own stuff going on in their own lives. The promoters that we play for, we don't know whether they're going to have businesses when all this starts back up. But I can't control any of that, man. All I can do is sort of, if I'm speaking to my mates, is to see how they are mentally, make sure they're okay, if there's anything I can do to help them.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I've done this podcast as well is because I became very sort of robotic in my approach to work. I'm very serious about my work, and I take it seriously because I care and I have a passion for what I do. But with this podcast, I want to try and all my posts and stuff, because I just didn't want to get caught in this social media trap of trying to put things across or trying to make myself look happy and all that. And what I'm hoping from this podcast is that I hope that it's showing a little bit of who I am, a little bit of my personality and stuff, because I know myself, I have a good sense of humour, I'm an alright person, and I hope that that's coming across. I'm not this robotic DJ who puts up a set, releases tracks. I want to sort of connect with people a little bit more and open myself up, and just to show people that myself, yourself, man, we're exactly the same as everyone else. We struggle, we've good times, we've bad times, and for anyone out there who was wondering, I wonder what it's like to be a DJ that travels across the world, close your eyes and imagine it. And that's exactly what it's like. It's exactly the same as your life, basically. You have the same emotions, the same everything, experiences. We've stuff going on in our lives. It's exactly the same as you. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is it's probably a little bit selfish. I'm doing it for myself as much as I'm doing it for other people as well. And
a counselling session for DJs, mate. I'm delighted to talk to you today, because it's like, we've been mates in the scene for a long time, and it's good to talk. But I mean, just to put things into perspective as well, I think you're the same, Brian. But I've not made any music for a year now. I've not even been to my studio. I've got no motivation to make music. I don't feel creative at all. And I've just accepted the fact I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to. I would lie if I was saying I'm not going to get upset about it, because I'm upset about it. But I'm trying to realise that it is what it is, and I will get back down there once things are starting to. Once the sun starts to come back out again, I think that will help for a start. But
that's interesting. That's interesting that you want to go into a dark studio when the sun comes back out.
But the drive, mate, it's the driving to the studio with the sun out. That makes a difference.
That's such a Scottish thing to say, man. That's like something I'd say.
I'm sitting here with my Bermuda shorts on just now, waiting for it. So anybody who's struggling, I know there's going to be a lot of producers listening to these podcasts that you're doing as well. And if you're struggling in the studio,
I'm the same.
Just forget about it. Not your synths and your computer, they're not going to go anywhere. They'll still be there. Your fans and your followers, they're not going to go anywhere. My manager had to sit me down and tell me this a few weeks ago, actually. He said, Mark, stop worrying about stuff. He said, the people who love what you do, love the music that you do, they're not going to go anywhere. Consider it as being like a year off or 18 months off. Nobody's going to go anywhere. Nothing's going to change. You'll come back again with a bang, and life will carry on. And that's really, it really took Stuart kind of sat me down on Skype and just gave us those words, and it really made a difference, because I thought, well, fuck it. That's exactly what my response was.
That went through my head the other day. I was starting to think, fuck, imagine what it's going to be like when all this stuff does come back. Because I started thinking back to back at the turn of the century, there was club nights every week, like Cream, Gatecrasher, God's Kitchen, all that sort of stuff. Now, I don't think it could be to that extent, but I honestly think, for somewhere like Passion in Colville, somewhere like that, the demand for maybe one show every month, 2 shows a month, people haven't gone out for so long, they're going to be buzzing for it. So that's what I wouldn't consider myself a positive thinker. I think positive thinking's it's bullshit, man. That's like saying if there's loads of shit things going on in your life and you're saying, oh no, everything's grand. I'm a rational thinker. I like to, if a situation is shit, I'll say it's shit and I'll look for a way to make it better rather than saying a shit situation is good. You know what I mean?
Or move to the side until you can change it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I'm just stuff that was going through my head the other day. I was just thinking about how good it possibly could be when it comes back. But the thing is, we don't know when that is going to be, how long it's going to be, or what the situation is going to be, because there's so-called experts over here telling us that this shit could go on for 5 years over here. Like that's not what people want to hear, man. And that's bollocks as well, that this situation can go on for 5 years. Like, that's no fucking way.
I mean, I heard a doctor saying the other day there as well, when our kids, I don't have kids yet, but our kids, their grandkids, their grandkids, we're dealing with COVID for the rest of our days, mate. It's not going to go away. It's okay. It might become less of a situation, unless it's not going to be like a pandemic, but it's going to be a recurring thing that's going to crop up probably every year. There's going to be small outbreaks of it, but as long as we've got the medication and the vaccines in place, it's going to be less of a threat. But this is not going anywhere, so the quicker we all realise that, the better. It is something we're going to have to deal with for a long time. We need to learn how to live with it and to not shit ourselves and run away from it. There has to be another way. Like the way that they're telling it at the moment, it's not working. And like, go and protect the vulnerable people, and if you're not vulnerable, like, protect the vulnerable people, keep them at home, keep them safe, vaccinate them, let everyone else go back and get the economies back working. There's been a thing called the Great Barrington Declaration, which was a report done by 15,000 scientists and doctors with alternative ways of how to handle this situation and without having people locked down. And Google basically block it from anyone seeing it. It's not mentioned in the news. It's not mentioned anywhere. It's like there's so many things that have been got. There's a thing going on called the Great Reset. I don't know whether you've heard about it. The World Economic Forum, and there was a thing at the end of last year called Event 201, and it was hosted by the World Economic Forum, who are using this term "Build Back Better." So they're using COVID as an opportunity to change things. So one of their taglines is, in a few years, you'll own nothing and you'll be happier than you've ever been. Yep. The World Economic Forum are pushing this Great Reset, all this type of stuff. And I'm just wondering, what is going on here? Is there I know, as I said, once again, COVID is real. I know that. I know people who have got it. I know people, you've had an experience of it as well. But what is going on? I've said it from the start. It feels to me like there's something else going on here. That they're happy to keep going in and out of these lockdowns. Is there no alternative? Do we not have enough brilliant minds out there to come up with a solution to how to handle this differently? I know, mate. It's kind of going back to what you said. Like, I suppose it's difficult for me. You probably don't know this, but I've actually got really bad asthma.
Yeah, I know. I understand that. Look, I'm sorry to interrupt you. No. My mother is the same. She's on medication and suppresses her immune system, and she's terrified as well. And I'm not downplaying it. I'm just
not at all, mate.
There's always another way of doing anything. This is just it doesn't seem that what they're doing at the moment isn't working. It's not. We can't put all other health to the side because of COVID. You know, like, there's a survival rate of 98.2% in Ireland. Like 4.2% of the country have got it here. Yeah. So there has to be another way.
What I was going to say was, the government, as far as I'm concerned, did things the wrong way around here. We should have been getting the vulnerable protected, shielding at home. Give the vaccinations to the young team, get them out working again, get the economy moving again. It's going to get rid of so much, mental health issues. People can go back to the gym, get fit again, get the whole thing moving and keep. I mean, I don't like tagging myself as being vulnerable, but yeah, I'm vulnerable because if I get this virus, I could be really screwed, and not just in the moment, but I could end up with long-term COVID. It could affect my career. I could end up not being able to get on a plane again. So yeah, I'm pretty fucking terrified, to be honest. But they've done things the wrong way. my mum and dad get their vaccine last weekend, and it took a massive weight off my mind to get the elderly safe, people with health conditions, keep them at home, keep them shielding, and let's get the whole economy moving again. That, to me, that was like a no-brainer. But no, they've done it completely around the opposite way over here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they ever release the information of how many people die after taking the vaccine as well. Like we hear about the people who are dying before they take it. Are they going to release that information? Like the government only release whatever information is relevant and whatever information is going to support their current mode of whatever they're enacting in their countries or whatever. So let's see if that happens. I don't know. I'm not anti anything. I'm not pro anything. I like to take a look at things and make my own mind up, you know.
Yeah, you've got to look into things. You can't just believe everything you're seeing in the news and the paper and stuff. You've got to look into things yourself and do some proper research, not go to YouTube and look up the latest conspiracy theorist and all that. I know you don't like that word. I think it was you and Andy said you
critical
don't like
thinker.
Word.
Critical thinker.
You know, but yeah, there's always more than meets the eye. But you know, yes, I suppose time will tell.
Indeed, it will, and obviously, maybe if I had more of a personal experience with someone who has suffered with it properly or died from it, I'd have a completely different way of looking at it. But I don't. So the only way I can see a situation is from how I view it at this moment in time. And obviously, for yourself, you probably have an underlying condition there, which obviously makes it difficult for you as well. So I completely understand that, and I hope I'm not insulting people with what I'm saying here. I'm being honest. I'm just saying, can there be another way of handling all this? That's all I'm saying, man.
I mean, I got another kick in the balls this morning. I woke up to find that basically the government have decided to kind of do a U-turn on who gets the vaccine as far as people with asthma go. You know, I take pretty strong medication for it, and now they're saying that I was meant to be getting the vaccine along with 65-year-olds and above, but now they've done a complete U-turn and they're basically saying it's only people with asthma that have to use like nebulizers and all the apparatus and stuff. So basically I've had this little glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel for the last, probably since the second lockdown. We could see the vaccine was being worked on. All of a sudden the vaccine was announced, and since then I've been like, you know, amazing, I'm going to get this vaccine, I'm going to be able to feel safe again, I'm going to be able to start venturing back out more. It's going to help my occupation, my career. You know, guys like yourself, you can, as soon as it's okay for you to travel again, you can potentially do that, as long as you don't have to obviously self-isolate when you arrive in a different country. But I don't have that luxury. I there's no way. I'm not risking my life, and I might sound like a bit of a drama queen for thinking that way, but I'm not risking my life and going to jump on a plane and go to the first gig, the first promoter that books me, just because I can. I need to have the vaccine, you know. And that, it's really been a major kick in the balls this morning to wake up and find out that's what the government have done to us, keeping us going for months, thinking that there was light at the end of the tunnel, and now they've just snubbed it out.
Yeah, 2021 was supposed to be a brand new beginning, and it's been worse than 2020 so far. It's been terrible. So,
I mean, Christmas was, I don't know how you felt over Christmas time, but that was a horrendous time for me. I've really struggled with it, and I'm the first to admit it. I've been feeling depressed, I've been feeling anxious. There's been times where I've been out walking with Karen, or going to I try and limit it, going out for shopping and stuff. We get most of our shopping online and get deliveries, but even going out to the shops now, I'm starting to feel anxious. I get that kind of feeling in my chest that I can't get. It's not like a physical thing. It's definitely my brain that's telling me it's as if I'm not able to get enough oxygen into my chest, into my lungs.
It's like a panic attack.
Yeah, I'm not short of breath. I'm not wheezing like I would normally do if I didn't take my asthma medication. I do get wheezy, like if I was to go out on a bike in a really cold day. Once that cold air gets into my chest, I really struggle to breathe. But
I think it could be from being inside too much.
Yeah, well, I go out. I'm not going to say every day. I go out every second day with Karen. I go for walks with Rosie, Karen's mum and dad's dog, and we do get out into the countryside. I'm lucky, I basically take a step outside their driveway and I'm on a country road that just goes for 5 miles down through fields, and we can go through the woods and cut back up through the village, and it's a brilliant walk. And without sounding like a hippie as well, you know, that smell of the countryside, it's biologically good for you.
Absolutely.
It's proven that it's good for you. There's the chemicals, the natural biological chemicals and stuff that get into your blood system and your lungs. It just makes you feel great, you know. And I actually did a post on this a while ago on Facebook as well, just telling people, if you're physically able to get outside, just go for a walk. Put your phone down, leave your computer, get out, walk up a hill, walk through the woods.
Don't wear a mask if you're around nobody.
Exactly,
get that air into you.
Exactly, mate. It's one of the best bits of advice I can give to anybody. The worst thing you can do is sit indoors and fester. You know, if you're physically able and you can get up on your legs, get outside, and it just makes a massive difference. I mean, we're lucky as well. We live right on the west coast of Scotland. We've got Prestwick Beach, we've got Ayr Beach, we've got Troon, Irvine. You know, we've got all these beautiful. Well, not. I wouldn't say they're beautiful, but they're nice. They're nice when the sun comes out.
They'd be beautiful to Americans or something. It's the same here, man. The stuff, obviously, because you're not living. You never appreciate your own country more than other people would. It probably is beautiful. You just don't think it is. But the main thing I'm doing most of the time now is just out walking. The same. I can't go. Like, we're not allowed to go 5 kilometers from our house unless it's for an essential reason. Unless
we're the same. Yeah.
So. It's this. I've been doing the same walk every single day for the last. I'm seeing the same people. I'm sick of seeing them. I'm sure they're sick of seeing me. You know, it's just the same thing over. It's fucking Groundhog Day over and over again. And it tries on you. It gets you just get sick of it. And it was just, as you're talking about over Christmas, I was actually okay over Christmas. And now, to be honest with you, I don't like Christmas. I don't enjoy Christmas. I don't know whether because it reminds me of when my dad was sick and it just brings back memories of that. Could be to do with that. But I don't know, I just sort of feel sort of down and depressed around Christmas. But I felt actually okay this year because the gyms were open and I could go to the gym every day, and myself and Adele were going. And I had to take a bit of time off for a couple of months from going to the gym from September to October. But the funny story here, when I was taking the time off, the day that I was able to go back, level 5 kicked in and the gym's closed. So then they opened up again in December and I was able to go again, and I could feel my strength coming back. I was enjoying it, just to get out of the house for an hour, 1 hour a day, go up there and sort of, because I have a little setup here with like a bench and some dumbbells and stuff, but it's not, I want to get in there and do proper leg workouts, and I was enjoying like really pushing my legs and that feeling. And the Irish government had promised that the gyms were going to stay open, so because they knew it was important for people's mental health. But then the cases started going out of control and all that sort of stuff, so everything was closed, and that floored me. It really did. I honestly felt like I don't care what they do, they can do whatever they want as long as they keep the gyms open, because it's so important for my physical and mental health.
And I've really been struggling with that as well. I mean, we've always, anytime we catch up, you know, we always ask each other, you've been training much, and I've not been training, and I was really unlucky because I think it was December. My head's like completely up my ass, all the dates. I think it was December 2018. No, sorry, December 2019. I got like a herniated disc in my neck, and my back, and my neck, and my shoulders, my arm, my hand. It was like shooting pains for like it was like 3 months of really, really a lot of pain, hardcore painkillers, and luckily I was still DJing. I can remember, like, after I saw you at Dream State, I think the 2 gigs I had after that was Taiwan that I told you about with Forbesy, and then David Forbes, and then the week after that I was in Montreal playing at TransUnity, and I was on hardcore painkillers, and there's a video of me doing a quick interview with Rami and the guys, and I just looked like shit because I was in so much pain, and you could see in my face I just looked hellish because of the painkillers that I was on. So basically, long story short, I went from having that herniated disc straight into lockdown, just as things were starting to get better, just as I thought I'll be able to get back into gym, then bang, into lockdown. I've not been at the gym for about maybe like 16 months, 17 months now, and it's 17 months, and it's really brutal. You know, I've always kind of struggled with back pain over the last 10 years just because of sitting so long. You know, we lead very sedentary lifestyles, sitting down at the computers all the time, sitting in planes for long periods of time. sitting in the studio for long periods of time. So the gym is like my release. It helps my mental health. It helps my physical health. I'm getting a bit older. I'm 46 now. Your metabolism starts to slow down, and the gym has always helped me. I've, before I had that neck issue and before lockdown, like I was going to the gym at least on average 4 days a week.
Yeah, I remember seeing you. You were in really great shape. Yeah.
Thanks, and the same as yourself as well. And but in any time I had a weekend off from gigging, I was in the gym with Karen Saturday and Sunday as well, and it just gives you that buzz. It gives you that feeling of strength and clarity and.
The endorphins,
endorphins
going
exactly,
in your brain,
just to get everything firing in the right places. So to have that taken away, to have your studio taken away, to have gigs taken away, to have that kind of social life where you're going out with mates, going out with Karen, going out to gigs, hugging people, it's bizarre, man. I think the best way I can describe it is you're running towards a cliff face at 100 miles an hour, and then you just stop and you're like on the edge going, whoa, it's about to fall off. It's I know it's been tough for everybody, but it's just difficult times, man. I hope we can get some kind of normality this year, but I don't think it's going to be until about autumn. I can't really see anything happening this summertime, to be honest.
I don't know. We just don't know. But as you're talking about, it's so important to take care of your mind and your body and going to the gym and being physically healthy and taking care and watching what you eat and stuff. And the thing I've noticed over the last year, man, every ad seems to be an ad about food and eating shite and just eat and Deliveroo. And, all right, let's make people fatter and fatter and make them.
Yeah. I'm one of those people. I've put on 10 kilos since the last time I saw you, I think.
Jeez, man, you wouldn't. Where? I can't see it.
My belly's hidden, man. It's going to stay hidden.
Okay. But like, it's such a weird thing. Like, people have never been sort of more health conscious and stuff, but to me, it seems like there's never been so many more ads about eating junk and not looking after yourself. It's such a weird time, but like, I think back to say 11, 12 years ago, and like, I didn't take care of myself. I think I went up to about 97 kilos at one stage, man, and it wasn't until my mate told me that I was a fat bastard that it was the best thing, man, that anyone has ever said to me, because it literally changed my life. I changed everything. I think I lost about 10 kilos in about 4 months. I looked like a completely different person within 3 or 4 months, and I've kept that going over the past year, or the past 10, 11 years. So a fitness regime and going to the gym and looking after myself, it's become a lifestyle for me, whereas I had a completely different lifestyle back then. I was drinking way too much, staying up 2 or 3 days, all that carry on that you do when you're 20. So I got all that out of my system, and as I get older and that, I start to have a far bigger appreciation of my mind and my body, how to look after myself. You just learn, you pick things up. And I remember in 2013 we went over for the opening of Cream in Amnesia, and Adam Ellis was there. I was only after meeting him, and we were out after being at Cream down. I don't know whether you've been to the Cove in San Antonio. I don't know whether you've been there. People who are listening will know what it is. And he was talking to me, and he goes, Bryan, when you were my age, what were you? And I just said obese. And I just said, man, just start looking after yourself. I didn't look after myself. It wasn't until I started looking after myself that sort of things changed, and
it catches up with you, mate.
It does, man. It does. But like, I don't know. I look back on photos of when I started going out with you, Dan, and I'm like, what were you thinking going out with me? Like, this was after I was at my heaviest now, to be honest. But I think I've actually got better. Sort of, I don't know. My face has matured or something. I don't know. I've got better looking or something. I don't know.
Like a fine wine, mate. Like a fine wine.
Bryan Kearney.
But I think it's like fitness is so important, and I think for guys like ourselves who live on aeroplanes and you're dealing with jet lag, I honestly believe, well, I know for a fact that I can handle jet lag at least 50% better by keeping fit. If I've been at the gym and I've had a good week in the gym, and I get on a plane and I get to the gig, get to the country that I'm playing in, I can go to sleep, get a couple of hours kip, I can wake up and I'm ready to fight, and it's so important. I can't deal with gigging and travelling and keep up with younger guys like yourself, and younger guys than you as well. I know I think you're 7 or 8 years younger than me.
38, so, man. Yeah, I'm not that fucking young.
So you've got to keep fit, and just for your own mentality and for fitness and looking after your heart and stuff. It's so important.
How has your sleep been over the past year?
Not that great, to be honest, mate. I've always taken my job. I know I'm like you. I take my job very seriously. I've always treated it as like a day job. I'll get up at 8 o'clock. I'll do some emails until 9 o'clock. I'll go to the studio. I'll work until lunchtime. I'll have my lunch. Back into making music for the afternoon. Finish up at 6. Go to the gym for an hour and a half. Come home, get my dinner, and I just try and switch off. But because I've not really had the same kind of structure, I'm really lucky that I've had my mastering service has still been really busy. I'm at home working. I've got my setup in front of me here. I've still been able to earn money from that. I've still been speaking to my clients every day. So it's gave us some kind of purpose, some kind of reason to get up and do work. And I've actually been going through my whole vinyl collection as well. I've gone through I've got I had 10,000 records, so I've gone through all of those. I've sold off about 2,500-3,000, and that's gave us something to do as well. I'm preparing for some really good like vinyl sets in the future, and that's gave us something really to focus on. But as far as sleep goes, I'm waking up like 3 o'clock. I'll wake up for half an hour. I'll try and get back to sleep, then I'll sleep for another 90 minutes, and then I wake up again. I've got one eye open and then back to sleep. So it's all kind of broken just now. You know, I'm usually like in bed. We try and go to bed at like 10 o'clock and we'll watch a film or watch something on Netflix and just kind of naturally drift off when you're feeling tired. And that always works for me. I don't have any issues with getting to sleep, but it's once I'm asleep, trying to stay asleep through until like 8 o'clock in the morning has definitely been a lot more difficult through lockdown. And I think a big part of that is because of the fitness thing as well. You know, when you go to the gym and you're tiring yourself out, your body's automatically tired when you come out, and it's ready to go to sleep as soon as your head hits the pillow. You know, but to have all that taken away, you feel as if you're kind of free falling a lot of the time.
Yeah, I had bouts of insomnia last year as well. There were certain weeks where I'd fall asleep and then I wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I swear to God, I could have ran a marathon. I was that awake. Yeah. And that was happening a good bit. And another thing that was happening to me last year was I was clenching my teeth in my sleep, and I had to get the Invisalign, the Smile Direct Club aligners to sort out my teeth at the bottom, because I don't know what I was doing. It must have been because I'm stressed or something like that. I don't know, but my teeth were all over the place. They're a little bit better now, thankfully. But one thing that I started taking last year was CBD. I don't know whether it's something that you've ever taken, and
no.
To be perfectly honest, it's been a revelation for me, for my mind, and for everything to do with that. Yep. I had tried sort of different oils and CBD oils and stuff before, but it didn't work. I wasn't getting the dosage correct. But I discovered these capsules that I started taking, and it took a while. It took maybe a month, and you had to sort of, at the beginning, the initial stage of it, they can make you feel a little bit anxious and stuff. Yeah. But you have to just sort of power through that. So I just took one a day, and then say after maybe 6 weeks I increased it to 2, and at the moment, and for the last 6-7 months, I've been taking 3 a day. But what they've done for me is, I used to get something come up in my head, and then I'd obsess about it for like all day long. Could be anything, a ridiculous, irrational fear of anything, and I couldn't get rid of it. And now they still do come up, but they go. Okay. They go up like 5 minutes later. I go, Jesus, I'm forgetting about that. Lovely, nice one. Fair play to you. I don't know. Some people might say CBD is a placebo. Some people swear by it. Some people it's used for like epilepsy. It's used for. All I know is it's worked for me, and with regards to my health and stuff, I go by what has worked for me. So I don't know whether CBD might help your sleep, but another thing that I take, and my current supplement nutrients or supplements that I would take before bed, I take 1 CBD and I take 3 ZMAs, which is zinc magnesium, which are really, really good for your sleep as well. They promote a more restful sleep where you stay asleep for longer. So the problem you were having was you're falling asleep no problem, but then you're waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I don't know what it is about that time in the morning, man. The stuff that goes through your head is ridiculous. Madness, the stuff that goes through your head at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I know, mate. And one thing I've noticed is as well, I've never been one for biting my nails, and it's probably a good thing considering there's a pandemic going on where you have to clean your hands so much. But I find them picking the side of my fingers a lot. Like I'll be lying in bed and Karen's like, "Will you shut the fuck up?" And I'm like, what? Stop picking your nails, and I don't realise I'm doing it, and it's definitely anxiety, mate. There's no other reason for it. It's definitely the feeling of that uneasy feeling. None of us know when this is going to go back to normal. Are we going to have any, especially for guys like us, are there going to be any nightclubs open when things go back to normal? Are there still going to be venues open? You know, are we going to have any kind of normality this year? It's like juggling all these balls and then just throwing them up in the air, and you're wondering when the fuck they're going to come back down again. That's exactly what it feels like. You've got your fitness, you've got your gigs, you've got lifestyle, you've got everything in your hands, and you're trying to juggle them all, and you just don't know what's going to happen.
Have you ever tried melatonin?
I have, mate. I tried it once because it was just purely to deal with jet lag, and it didn't work didn't agree with me at all. I don't know whether it was the wrong kind or what, but I'm actually not too bad, mate. I can sleep anywhere. If you point at a park bench, I can go. I'll be asleep within 5 or 10 minutes. I don't have any issues with falling asleep. I don't have any issues with falling asleep in hotels. You know, going to countries that I've never been before, sleeping on flights. No issues at all. But just in the last year, because of what's going on, I just find them. I find if I hear a pin drop, I'll just wake up at it. You know, it's just the level. If this is my normal sleeping level of deep sleep, I'm probably like only getting about halfway down, and anything can make me stir and wake up.
Well, I'd suggest to maybe give the zinc magnesium tablets a try. They could help, because they're sort of designed to improve your quality of sleep and to help you stay asleep for longer. And what I take is, before I go to sleep at about 9 o'clock at night, I take 1 CBD and 3 ZMAs, and then roughly half an hour to 45 minutes before I go to sleep, I take a low dose of melatonin. And look, anything could happen. I could be someone could tell me I'm doing it completely wrong, but as all I'm saying is, it works for me. My sleep is pretty good. Like, I check every morning on the Fitbit. I usually have a sleep score around 80, 81, which for someone who thinks a lot and has an active mind, I think is pretty good. So I'm happy with it, and I'll keep it going. I would recommend it, maybe giving it a go to see if it can sort of improve your sleep and stuff, or anyone out there who struggles with sleep. Because another thing is, being on your phone, it really affects your sleep, especially if you're on your phone just before you're about to fall asleep. So 9 o'clock at night, my phone, I don't go near it. I just leave it. It's gone.
Well, I'd love to see that. I do that as well, but unfortunately I've got guys in Australia, clients that are just waking up with mastering jobs and stuff, and even though I'm trying not to get back to them, it's difficult with working with the time zones as well. You know, it's kind of difficult. But yeah, I definitely do set my phone to the side, and I try and ignore it as much as I can, and I'll get my head into like a documentary or some film or something with Karen, and just try and switch off. And you know, as I said before, I do treat it as I try and treat this as much of a normal job as I can, and I think that's a really good bit of advice as well for guys like ourselves that are making music and stuff. Even if you've got an amazing idea at night time, just try and shelve it, try and get to your bed and do it the next day, because your ears get fatigued as well, your ears get tired, your brain starts to work in a different way at night time. So I really recommend that you don't do long days in the studio. Try and finish up at a decent time, get a good night's sleep, and I can guarantee you'll be a lot more creative and productive the next day. Not just for making music, any career, any kind of work you're doing. Just try and get a good night's sleep and try and do normal hours. I mean, I can remember, you know, probably around about 2004, 2005, when I was starting to get really tired of the pressure we were under with Public Domain. When I was in the band Public Domain and I was wanting to start a solo career, I was staying up till like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Even doing a whole night shift and working till like 6, 7 o'clock in the morning just to get a remix finished, and then trying to go to bed, and you just end up in a vicious cycle, because you're getting a really shit sleep, you're having a shit day, and you just end up in a complete mess. And man,
it's like trying to go to sleep after you play a set. It should be an Olympic sport. Fucking, it's intense. Oh my God.
Yeah, the best thing I ever did was just to try and calm things down a bit. try and schedule my day and treat it like a normal 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 in my case. It just makes a massive difference to your mental health and your actual output in the studio, the quality of your music, just it improves everything. But I can understand, I was hungry for something when I was a lot younger, hungry to make my solo career, and looking back, I know exactly why I did it. And don't get me wrong, it did get me on the ladder to start my solo career, but my production wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't that great back then, and it made such a massive difference. I think it was around about 2010 when I actually sat down and just decided, right, I need to slow things down and really focus on things more and make it more of a real job. Try and screw the nut, as we say in Scotland.
Do you miss the days of public domain?
I do, mate. I miss the feeling of being in a band. Sometimes some of the tours we've had back in the day were just incredible, but at the same time, I can also understand why a lot of people go off the rails when they're doing as much touring as that, because, oh man, it could have killed any one of us. What was going on back then, it was just absolutely nuts. One of the most crazy, terrifying, unbelievable periods of my life was being in the band. But
is that Mallorca Lee's fault?
No, we're all guilty, mate. We're all guilty. It was just a crazy time. But yeah, we could only have kept that going for so many years. There's no way we could have kept that up, because it was just absolutely mental.
He's a mad bastard, man.
Yeah, he is, mate. He is. It's good to have. I'm lucky, mate. I've got a big group of school friends that I keep in touch with. We've got a WhatsApp groups. I've got a second big group of mates that I used to go clubbing with back in the day, and I'm equally as close to all of them. But it's good to have mates like Mallorca and Davy Forbes, and even guys like yourself, guys that are going through this with us. One of the best things we can all do is talk to each other, and talking to yourself. Hopefully you get something out of talking to me today. And it's so good to have people that are on going through exactly what you're going through as far as DJing and making music, and going through all the same stuff that we are going through mentally just now, because I know it's tough for everybody, but yeah, it's tough for us guys as well, having to readjust and deal with. I mean, I've been doing this for 25 years, mate, and I know you're not that far behind me. To do this for to invest so much time and passion into something for 25 years. I've gigged almost every weekend for that length of time. I've done so many days and hours and weeks and months in the studio, and built up a career, built up the record label, built up the record labels, everything that I've done, and then just bang, it's just all stopped.
Yeah, and we've done it all ourselves, which makes it even harder.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts. And I know I don't want to sound horrible when I say this to people that have lost people to COVID, including myself, including Karen's family, but I honestly think as the human race we kind of deserve this, mate, because we're like locusts on this planet. We've just used and abused it as much as we possibly can, and if we don't have a wake up call from this and start to treat the planet a lot better, then there's going to be another pandemic tomorrow if we keep on doing this. It's just. I'm sure
it's going to go on for 5 years. You don't need another one tomorrow.
I know. See, there's a new Ebola. There's an Ebola breakout just now as well, and it's just. I know it's. Yeah. Sorry.
Speaking about Ebola, there, I was only watching. I started watching Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime, and that Ebola virus thing was on it. They tried to infect the American president. Maybe that's what's coming up next in the world. Let's see.
I know it. Yeah, but we'll get through it, bud. We'll get through it.
Did you see the film Contagion?
I did. Made the mistake of watching that a few weeks ago.
We watched it back in the naive phase, back in last March, and strange how it all. Nearly all of it came true, but
yeah, I think it was actually a month. I think it was April. It was Forbesy. David Forbes told me to watch it, and I made the mistake of watching it, and I was like, why am I putting myself through this just now?
I was all in. I was all in and all that stuff at the start. I think everyone was all in it together. But the longer this thing has gone on, they're spreading this message that we're all in this together. No, we're not. No, we're not. The people who have businesses and are destroyed have no hope of ever working again. They're not with you. If you were put on government support and had your business taken away from you, you see how long you'd like this situation to carry on. All these people in charge, all these high flyers, they're making more money now than they've ever been, and the rich are getting richer and the rest of us are fucked. So there's the class divide is going to go like that.
Massive divide, mate. Massive. It was getting out of control even before the pandemic. The divide between the rich and the poor, especially in the UK as well, in Ireland, it's out of control, and now it's just going to be even worse when things, we're not gonna. I don't think we're gonna have a normal again. I think this is gonna, as you say, it's gonna affect us for a long, long time. But without dwelling on things too much, we just have to pick ourselves up and deal with it, take it day by day, and we'll get there. We'll all get through it. How's
your anger issues? You wouldn't strike me as someone who was an angry person.
I feel my number one emotion is frustration, mate. I feel so fucking frustrated at the whole thing. I feel frustrated at the government. I feel frustrated at the situation we're in. I feel frustrated.
There's a little bit of anger in there.
All right, I'm angry. Let me smash something up here. Yeah, so I'm more frustrated than angry. But yeah, of course, I do feel angry sometimes. But it's not like I'm going around the house smashing things up or taking power tantrums and stuff. But yeah, it'd be lying if I said I don't get days where I do feel angry. But yeah, it's
I've been like that as well. It's like just moments, like just even last year, just feeling like this is never going to end. I think I went out the back and I just got a bottle of water and just fucked it against the wall because I'm just so pissed off at everything. And we were in a shop and I was queuing up for the deli counter to get a sandwich, and there was this lad in front of me, and like there was no masks or anything back then, and he was sort of standing there, and I thought he was sort of saying to me that I was too close to him, but all he was actually doing was, there's another queue there that you can use, and I fucking snapped at him, and I proper took the head off and was there like, I'm not in the fucking queue, I'm on this side, mind your own fucking business. And then like Del was with me, and she's going, what are you doing? What's wrong? What's that for? He's only trying to help you.
Angry Kearney.
I felt terrible, man, and like I honestly felt I almost ran up the road and apologised to him because I was completely out of order.
Yeah, it's out of character for you, mate.
Yeah, I'm not like that at all. Like, but it just shows you how this whole situation is affecting me. It is affecting me, like even walking around, I'm nearly hoping that someone says something to me that I can say something back to them.
Just to vent some anger.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not like that. I'm not like that at all.
Don't get me wrong, mate. I'm not going to sit here and lie. This has brought me to tears a few times. I've been sitting, just watching a film or watching something, and it's just triggered something, and I'm definitely a lot more emotional than I'd normally be. I don't normally cry at stuff, but I've definitely been in tears a few times. Not like floods of tears, but just It's raw.
One of the best things you can do is having a good cry, man. It releases so many sort of tension in your body and all. It's really good for you. I cry a couple of times a week. It's good for you. It's like a workout for your mind and your emotions, man.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I'm not going to be a tough guy, but yeah, it's
that's the thing, man. You can't do that, lads. Don't cry. Fuck off, will you? Bullshit, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Alpha male bollocks. That's what that is. Nonsense. Yeah, but that's how I felt. I have been fairly angry over the past year. I'm angry, frustrated. I'm angry with life. I'm angry with everything. I'm angry with things that happen to me, and it can get on top of you.
Have you? I'm gathering from what I've heard you discussing with the guys in the previous podcast. Have you been able to do? You've not been able to make any music either. You've just been keeping away from it, or have you been dabbling?
I have. I come into my studio and I twiddle away in a few things, but I'm not changing the world. You know what I mean? There's a few things that are all right, and I have a couple of vocal tracks sitting there that I'm not going to waste them by playing them, and I've other projects that I want to work on, but I don't. What is the point? Like, where am I? I'm going to go downstairs and play it in my kitchen where I can just upload it and everyone has it, and there's no connection of the track between people from playing at an event. Like, I was probably a bit lazy last year with what I was making. It was a lot of bootlegs and stuff, but I think people are feeling very nostalgic now, so I'm sort of mirroring how I'm feeling with how they're feeling. Like, the things that I'm doing, I'm sort of just doing a lot of sets and streams with stuff from old tracks, and people seem to be enjoying them because it's reminding them of a time when things were a lot easier.
I was just going to say that. And for me, like, I'm the same as yourself, although I haven't done weekly streams, but I did a few streams during the first and second lockdowns, and yeah, I was laughing when you said about, you can only get so excited when you're standing in your kitchen, and I'm the exact same. I'm standing in my office facing a wall, go like this, pretending there's people in front of me.
Pretending
stuff,
you're enjoying it. Yeah, the highlight of one of mine is when my cat opens the door and walks in and just jumps up behind me. That's been my crowd for the year,
But don't get me wrong. When you see the interaction on Facebook and people commenting and Twitch and stuff, it was amazing enough to wake up the next morning from that feeling. I mean, I was having drinking mojitos with Karen. Karen was sitting on my computer, following all the messages and stuff, following the comments, making sure everything was going live, and I was in the decks and we're drinking mojitos. And see to wake up the next morning and feel a little bit hungover, and that feeling of having the slight, like not ringing in your ears, but just that buzz of having a good feeling. Exactly, having the feeling of purpose and that you've done something constructive. So having and I'm definitely going to do some more lockdown mixes. I'm actually trying to clear the office of vinyl just now so that I can do some more. I might actually do one this weekend or next weekend. But even just going through my vinyl collection, I've got so many amazing memories of gigs, festivals, clubs back in the day when I'd first started out, and I'm reminiscing every day. And I'm basically, I don't know, I know you don't spend a lot of time on social media, but every day on Instagram and Facebook I'm posting a photograph of a record, whether it's an old rave record or a trance record or a techno or old school, whatever, and just saying, look at this, guys, do you remember this one? And I think it's actually helping a lot of people, because I'm getting a lot of messages and comments on Facebook and Instagram, people saying, oh, I remember this track, I was at this club when I heard this track, or I saw this DJ play that track. And it's just reminiscing. It's exactly what you're saying. It's just reminding people of the good times and the fact that we will get these good times back. We're all going to bend over backwards to make sure that we're back out DJing again and just trying to give people entertainment and hearing good music again. That's what it's all about. That's what we've done for so long.
It just shows you the power of music as well.
Yeah, exactly, mate.
It's helping people get through this, and you think about the people that you've met all over the world, the countries you've travelled to. The unifying thing between you all has been music. It's incredible, the power of the music. Like, even the other day I heard a song on Spotify, and I nearly had to sit down because I haven't heard it's literally just a song with a vocal and a piano, but I haven't heard a song that is. I don't want to give the name away from it because I'm actually trying to remix that at the moment.
Okay.
I've contacted the artist to see if they allow me to do it, but it just showed me how powerful music is. A piano is the most powerful instrument in the world, man. A piano and a voice, and I nearly had to sit down. It had that much of an effect on me, and I know that probably sounds a bit strange, but it really I haven't had inspiration or motivation to work on something as much until I heard this song. It's a song that has literally blown me away. It
just takes you back to the first time you heard it and where you were and who you were with and all that kind of stuff. And I did a live stream from, there's a nightclub, a local nightclub to me called the Metro, or the Metropolis, which was my first kind of big local Saturday night residency. And it was in 1998 when all the tracks, all your West Bams were coming out, your Paul Van Dyke, For an Angel, Solar Stones, 7-6, all these big tracks were coming out. And going back to what I was saying earlier about my friend that passed away, I made a small clip of West Bam, the Matt Darey and Red Jerry remix of West Bam, Wizards of the Sonic, to play at his funeral. And he was my warm-up resident DJ on the Saturday nights in the Metro with me as well. And as soon as I walked in the door, it just brought all these memories back, and it just made me reminisce and feel so emotional. So when I'm playing, when I did the live set, it was live from the Metro. The Metro's been closed for years, but there's a group of guys that have bought the club over just now. They're refurbing it all, and they're going to try and open it again later on this year.
God help them.
I know, mate. I know, and I feel really sorry for them, the fact they bought this club just before the pandemic. But I think they'll be okay. Playing this live stream from the Metro with all the kind of video crew recording it all, and then playing West Bam and hearing these old tracks that meant so much to me in the venue, that kind of really helped my career locally back in the day. It was such a release for me. I was an emotional wreck. Just even the drive, in a seaside town called Saltcoats, and even the drive up to Saltcoats, I used to do it every Saturday night with my mates, driving up there, just buzzing with energy, just dying to get on the decks, dying to see the club full of people, and just doing that drive and walking through the doors and walking up into the reception area and then stepping out and seeing the dance floor and the DJ box and everything. It was just like I felt so lucky to go back and be able to experience it all again. And it's just that for me, that's what the whole lockdown scenario's been like. It's just reminiscing about the good times, and it's been such a release and a help.
Would I be right in saying that there was a big, massive rave that took place in Prestwick Airport?
No, mate, it's not that was Prestwick Airport in the town where I've lived. I lived in Prestwick for about 40 odd years, and that was Eurodance. It was a thing called Eurodance, and it was Ricky McGowan. It was Ricky McGowan from Colours that put that on. I think they did it 3 times, and it was the first rave.
For anybody who doesn't know, can you explain exactly what happened here? Because I think this, like, if you go to an airport now for non-essential reasons in Ireland, you get fined €2,000. So let's just go back in time and explain what these people were doing at an airport.
Well, you basically walked into the foyer where you've got all the check-in desks lined up. That whole foyer, it's not like a reception. The main terminal building was a rave. I can't actually remember the lineup. I'm sure the Prodigy were there. I'm sure there was K-Class. I'm sure there's a few other kind of real old school kind of rave guys that were on. It
was basically a rave in the check-in area of an airport.
And there was people. Every conceivable part of that airport was being used as a dance floor. There was people up on top of the check-in desks just raving their asses off. I was probably one of them back in the day, and it was just an unbelievable thing. And I still to this day don't know how Ricky McGowan managed to get the permission from the council to make something like that happen, because that would just never happen these days, especially now.
What a man he is! I think he's still up from that gig. He's still going. 30 years later, he's still awake.
Yeah, still going strong.
Yeah. No, man. If time travel was possible, that's definitely an era of time that I go back to, like that type where like the raves and the hacienda and all that sort of stuff. I'm fascinated with like the late 80s, early 90s, and I was actually thinking to myself the other day, right, what films from the 80s wouldn't be made if they were made today? And the first one, like 3 Men and a Baby, that wouldn't be allowed made, man. Not a chance. And then one of my favourite films of all time is Home Alone.
Yeah.
And I was there thinking, right, if Home Alone was made now, it wouldn't work because Kevin's ma would be on the plane, and then she realised that Kevin's not there. So all she'd have to do is go onto her phone, log onto the Wi-Fi on the plane. She might have Kevin's Find My iPhone password. Log in. She'll log in. She'll see Kevin is in the attic of the house, and then she'd go, "Oh bollocks! I forgot to change those sheets. Kevin's probably covered in Fuller's piss." Film ends.
You've really thought about this, Brian, haven't you?
Yeah, this went through my head the other day. Or else you can just ring him or text Kevin on WhatsApp. Kevin, where are you? I'm at home. Okay, film's over.
Yeah, so exactly.
If Home Alone was made today, it wouldn't be able to be made. So one of my favourite films would never be being made. So
and the fact we're all home alone just now doesn't help the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Home Alone and Climbing the Walls would be the sequel, I think.
Yeah, so coming back to that sort of stuff and something a bit more lighthearted. Obviously, we spent a lot of time at home in the past year and watching Netflix and Amazon Prime. Has there been any series and TV or documentaries that have stood out to you over the past year that you've really enjoyed?
Do you know what's actually been really good, and it was a surprise? Mallorca told us to watch the Kaminsky Project with Michael Douglas, and it's about 2 old guys basically getting old and just having to deal with what happens when you get older. And it's at first Karen did that. She'd actually watched the first season herself, and I watched a couple of episodes and I thought, I'm not really getting into this. And then it just starts to, once you've got invested into the characters, it's actually really, really funny, and it's a really good watch. And there's 2 seasons on Netflix, the Kaminsky Project it's called, and it's really worth a watch. We've also watched I always forget the name of it, the social media one you mentioned in the last
social dilemma.
Yeah, that fried our heads when I watched that with Karen. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned it. Like the people who run Apple and Twitter, they don't let their kids have phones.
Yeah.
What does that's like a drug dealer not selling to their own family. Like, so
I know, mate.
If take the warning, the warning. I've said there's some great aspects of social media as well. all I'm saying is there's a very insidious side to it as well, which can take over your life if you're not careful. But I don't know whether you watched it, the Last Dance. Did you watch the Michael Jordan doc? Oh man.
No, not yet. I do want to watch it. Karen's not really into the kind of sport things, but I definitely, it's on the list to watch it. I
became obsessed with Michael Jordan for about three months last year after watching that documentary.
Well, you're the same height as him, mate. I can understand that.
Not at all. No, but I became obsessed with him, man. Just him, his character, his drive, just everything about him, man. He's the greatest athlete of all time. Yeah. And then it triggered, like, I started reading books about Kobe Bryant and other elite basketball players, and basketball from around the late 80s, early 90s. It ties in with the time travel thing. It's an era of time that I'm fascinated with, and I'd love to go back in time too. But I developed a weird obsession with Michael Jordan, and Edel was starting to get worried a little bit. I was properly obsessed.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know whether it was last year, but I don't know. Have you seen The Irishman on Netflix?
Yes, I thought it was really good, and I thought the CGI was amazing. The deep fake thing they did was amazing. I'm a bit of a sci-fi geek, mate. I've got to put my hands up. I love stuff like Interstellar, Christopher Nolan, all these big.
That's a mind-blowing film, that Interstellar, man.
I've not seen Tenet yet. Have you seen Tenet?
No.
Malaka said that's amazing
like
as well.
James Bond versus Inception.
Apparently you've got to watch it a few times to get the gist of it. But I love true crime things. I love forensic shows. I love true detective things. Real CSI stuff. I love watching, like, is it 20? We've got a thing called 24 Hours in Custody. Have you seen? Do you have a thing like that in Ireland?
No.
It's all about they've caught a criminal. They've caught maybe somebody that's potentially murdered somebody, and they've only got 24 hours to turn around the case and get enough proof and witnesses to basically convict them of murder. And some of that stuff, I could sit, much to Karen's disgust, I could sit and watch these like 24/7 the whole time. I love that kind of stuff. But I've got to say my all-time favourite show ever is Breaking Bad. I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad. That is just incredible.
Have you only watched it once? Did you ever go back?
I've watched it like about 4 times, I think.
Oh man, the second time I watched it was even better. Yeah. I know it's probably a sad thing. Like, why would you go and watch something again? But there was so many things that I didn't pick up the first time. When I watched it for the second time, it felt like there was an even bigger part of my life missing. But I'll give you one. There's a show on Netflix called Kingdom. It's about an MMA gym in Los Angeles, and a family that run it. Oh, it's unbelievable. I was having dreams about it and obsessed with it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. And if anybody hasn't seen it, it's called Kingdom. Absolutely unbelievable.
Did you watch Blood Money? It's based in Montreal. It's like the Canadian kind of mafia in Montreal.
I don't think I've watched that one now.
It's quite a good one to watch, because obviously you've been to Montreal a lot as well, but it's really good. It's like a proper gangster series, and it's
like a Canadian Gomorrah sort of thing. Yeah.
It's mega. Really, really enjoyed that as well. I'm trying to think what else we've been watching.
I'm trying to think of them here as well. I can't think. I watched one at the weekend. It's called Informer.
Okay.
It's on BBC. Really good. Really good.
Did you watch the Pistorius documentary?
No.
It was on the BBC. I don't know if you guys would get that over in Ireland as well, but it's a 3-part documentary about Pistorius and what he went through, and obviously shot his girlfriend and stuff, and it's the whole case about how he was such a successful athlete, going from that to basically getting convicted and getting locked up. But it's really interesting. It's pretty good, a good watch.
Yeah, I remember I watched Making a Murderer, the first season of it.
That's
the most pointless thing I've ever watched was the second season. Boy, did they make it, man.
Yeah, I know, mate. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a terrible film that had a sequel that could relate to it, but I actually can't think of one, so I'll have to just let that go.
Jaws 2 is pretty naff.
Yeah, there we go. We'll go Jaws 2, yeah. But jeez, I don't know how they dragged 8 episodes out of it. That, like, literally nothing happened.
Yeah,
nothing happened, and he's still
tough.
locked up. But I remember watching that Making a Murder for the first time. I was like, he can't be getting locked up for this. This is insane.
Have you watched the Cecil Hotel one in LA?
Not yet. That's on the list. I watched Night Stalker. We watched that. That was really good. Really
the only
good.
thing I'll say about this, I keep on saying Cecil, but is it Cecil? Cecil.
I think it's Cecil, but we would say Cecil.
Yeah, Cecil. Yeah. but it's all about a girl goes missing in the hotel. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody that hasn't seen it. But then all these internet sleuths, like these internet pretty much conspiracy theorist guys, get involved. And
critical thinkers, man. Critical thinkers.
So these guys get involved, and they basically completely mess up the case. They're interfering with the police investigations and stuff. And you're just, it's probably the most. It's the show that's made me the most angry in the last 12 months. I was shouting at the TV, going, "What the fuck? Get these guys out of there!" Just complete and absolute bollocks getting discussed in these, on the internet and stuff. I
can't wait to go back to America. I love it.
I know, mate. I know, mate. And I love Canada just as much. I love Montreal and Toronto. I love LA, New York. Every. I love the whole.
Been to Chicago?
Vibe over there. Yeah, mate. Yep.
Favorite city in the world.
Yeah, mate. Beautiful place.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Yeah, it's an incredible place. I really miss that. Argentina as well. How much we love Argentina. Yeah, and Australia. Love Australia. Really miss going over there. I've got loads. I think you're the same as me, mate. It's amazing to have good friends in different cities that you can hang around with, and it gives you that feeling of, it's like a home from home, a feeling of being, you forget about the fact that you're thousands of miles away from home. You've got genuine friends in other cities that you can hang around with and have a great time with, and I think that really helps me dealing with the job and dealing with being on your own a lot of the time, sitting in airports and sitting in planes, to travel and meet people from different cities. That for me is a really depressing thing just now as well. The fact that that's all taken away from us as well.
Yeah, I've really started to miss. It's not just the being away and traveling. It's just that feeling of playing and that connection.
Having a purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, it's there's some days where I feel like I don't have a purpose, but that only lasts a few minutes because it's not true. Like, what I mean? Like, I question it and I get rid of that because I know it's nonsense. But I will say that this podcast has given me, as I was scared starting it, and obviously had a bit of anxiety around it, how it was going to go, how it was going to be received. But to be honest, I haven't had anything but positive feedback that I've heard. Obviously, some people might think it's a load of shite, and that's fair enough. That's your opinion. Like, I've really enjoyed doing it, and I think it is helping people out there. And to sort of, what I want to do, as I said, what I want to do is normalise all of this stuff, man, and just sort of let everyone see that we're all going through the same stuff, and let's just keep our heads up and keep going.
Well, I think kudos to you, mate. I'm not. I hope I don't put you in the spot here, but I think it was a really brave thing you did a few years ago, talking to Victor Kidson about your mental health issues and stuff, and it just felt like a lid being opened, and you've probably helped countless amounts of people already. Just the fact that you opened up about it, you're not ashamed to talk about it. You're not. It's a normal thing. It's so many people deal with it, and on many different levels. And the fact that you've opened up about it, and the fact that you've continued that kind of theme with these podcasts, and it's definitely a good thing, mate. And kudos to you for opening up and showing people that, as you said, it's not a robot. You're not a robot. We're all humans, and we're all dealing with different things. And it's so good to talk about it, and not just for yourself, but for helping other people as well. Yeah,
I want to normalise it, and I don't want to look back and think, oh, I've had a very hard time and all this. I've had challenging moments, but I'm all right. Like, I'm still here, and I don't sit here and shit myself about life. I want to normalise all this stuff. I want to look back at some of the stuff I've done and laugh at it, because it's one thing I've really learned from the last year is that life, it's all about perspective and how you look at things. And like, some terrible things can happen to you, but it's how you view them, and if they've made you a better person, what have you learned, all that type of things. And I think I've had to do a lot of work on myself. That's being honest. Like, I've read so many things with regards to self-improvement and looking after myself and sort of improving how my mind works and my body and finding what works and cutting down on drinking alcohol and eating better food. And like, it snowballs. These things all, they get on top of each other, and they improve you bit by bit by bit. Because even a couple of years ago, I just felt there was something wrong with me, and I went to see a nutritional therapist to see if she could suggest a better diet for me or something. And like, I'm sitting there giving her advice on things, and she just looks at me and she goes, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like you seem like you have things in fairly good check. So what are you here for? But this is just how my head works at times, man. I think I'm nuts at times. But everyone does. Everyone thinks they're a weirdo. Everyone has weird shit going through their head that they never tell anyone. But it's not weird because this stuff happens to everyone. So like, let's get rid of this stigma. We're all fucked. We're all weirdos.
I know I shouldn't laugh, mate, but one of the funniest things I saw you talking about was the fact that you used to sometimes think about going up to random people and punching them in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, that is I know I shouldn't laugh, but that was
no.
amazing.
You should laugh.
It's fucking amazing.
You should laugh at this. This is what if you had one of these weird things in your head and you said it to someone and the two of you broke your bollocks laughing about it, how much better would you feel?
Yeah, it's a bit like Tourette's, isn't it? It's like
it is. It's a mental Tourette's. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's been other ones that I won't discuss in public, but there's some worse ones.
Well, mate, I'm glad you've never followed through any time you've been talking to me.
Well, I nearly did in the queue with your mum, and I was talking about my anger issues, but I didn't. But that was
a lucky escape.
That wasn't a supermarket. That was only a small little shop. So maybe there's a connection there.
Yeah, that diet's got a massive. I'm going to be the first to admit it. Over Christmas time, it's not like I was drinking, waking up in the morning and taking shots of vodka and stuff, but we were drinking pretty much every night through Christmas, just eating all sorts of shite.
That's what Christmas is for, man.
I know, but I started to feel really low. Like when it came into January, the weather was bad, Christmas was over, lockdown was in, I couldn't get to see my mum and dad, my friends, everything. That was just all really bringing me down. Like, yeah, it's a pretty tough place. Just a horrible, low feeling that I just felt, which I probably haven't experienced anything like that before. But very quickly, we cut the drink back, cut the, sorted our diets out, just started getting back out, walking again, walking the dog, and it just very, very quickly just came right back out of it again. But diets plays a massive part in it.
Sorry, alcohol is the depressant, so doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a complete downer.
I don't drink that much anymore, but don't get me wrong, I love having a drink. I love drinking. It's the after effects of it that I find very difficult, and it really affects my mood. And even last week, I think I had like 4 cans of Guinness at home, and on the next day, I felt horrendous, and that was only terrible. Yeah. And that was only after 4 cans of Guinness. I was there, geez, imagine if I actually went out on a proper session now. I'd be in bits for a week.
You're a good advert for Ireland, mate. We've got a traditional full-blown Irishman here talking about...
Here, I'm drinking water out of a Guinness glass, look.
You got locked up for that over there, bud.
I know.
Yeah.
But that's... I'm just coming back to that as well. Like, as we're talking about how you felt after drinking alcohol, how I felt. And like, for people who are... Obviously, we don't really have the opportunity to go out and party and all that stuff, but you need to understand, if you're going out doing whatever you're doing and taking these things and drinking, it's going to have a very negative effect on your mental health. So just be careful and just have an awareness of how it can cause increased anxiety and change your way of thinking and stuff. Just be careful and just look after yourself and do your best not to fall down that trap. And I really appreciate Mark coming on today and speaking about something so personal to you that you haven't spoken about before, and I hope it has helped you a little bit. And I hope that us speaking about this sort of thing and just let people know that it's very, very easy to get caught in these types of thoughts. And I'll come back to it again. When your mind is giving you that way out of your pain, it's only trying to help. It's giving you a suggestion of how to end that suffering. And just to have an awareness of it, please don't follow through. And as I've said before, if I can help anybody, I'll leave my DMs open on Instagram and you can message me about anything. If there's anything I can help you with, messages, or if I can send a video to any of your friends, anything like that, no problem at all. And Mark, I'm sure you're exactly the same.
Exact same for me. If anybody who's struggling, just get in touch. My Instagram's always open as well. My Facebook, even if you want to leave us a comment or anything at all, just get in touch, guys, because it has to be discussed, and there's always help for you out there. So yeah, thanks a lot for having us on, Bryan. It's been good to chat, and hopefully the next time I see you, I'll get a big hug of you and we can jump around and do what we do best.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you very much. An absolute gentleman. I really appreciate you coming on this podcast today. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bryan. See you soon.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.